Oh, there you are. Midrano beso anope. Don't call me, oh, don't call me. Don't call me, oh, don't call me. Don't call me. Me wanya manu bi wahai. Inti mumbe tobi. What am I selling, you ask? A whole lot, actually. I'm not in the market, but my jingling bell will make a lot more sense to you as I announce to you the title of my blunt thoughts for today. And here it is. Auctions or elections? Moneycracy or democracy? The nasty twists and turns of Ghanaian politics. Ghana for money talks. Oh yes, money talks. Did you see how smoothly the MPP's delegates conference went just about a week ago? It wasn't just about the organization. It was money talking, making things move like a well-oiled machine. And our country and our economy likewise can function like well-oiled machines. But because we keep electing leaders who are sellouts, they deceive us, get at the helm, and steal all our money. Even with the calls for a reduction of ostentatiousness and opulence, look at what we saw and heard. Accusations of vote buying and more. The national cake indeed is big enough for all of us, grandfather and grandmother, parents and children, to benefit from. Yet because we're in a rigged system, only a few, those in power and those close to those in power, are eating almost all of it. The cake, you see, is big enough to satisfy everyone's need, but definitely not everyone's greed. Before becoming president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo told us he would defend the public purse. Well, he's defended it all the way to the IMF, that's for sure. Our breed of politicians will spare no means to outmuscle with their foot soldiers and serial communicators, outbuy with money and other goodies, and tell barefaced lies just to get power. And we all know what happens after they get it now, don't we? In the past, we have seen bags of sachet water, rice and oil branded with the images of politicians, bundles of money with labeling for this or that contender, even in intra-party elections of the two major political parties. We have seen scholarships being used as inducement. We have witnessed vehicles of different kinds, motorbikes and cars, being used to secure votes. Even flat-screen TVs have been on the chopping board. All of that to purchase votes. All of that to purchase these votes like foodstuffs at a market. So yes, the sale is ongoing. Who will be selling his vote next? Just remember though, in that world where the politician buys your vote, they become political versions of Jesus, the Christ, who died for our sins and paid our debt in full on the cross. For the politician though, once he pays you and you vote for him, if he wins, whatever debt he owes you in his or her mind has been paid to you in full, in advance. This is why now, in our two major political parties, and let's get more details of that. In our two major political parties, people will virtually kill to become delegates, especially at the national level. Do you figure those on the TESCON, those TESCON representatives who were recently denied the right to vote at the MPP's National Delegates Conference were aggrieved simply because they couldn't have a say in who occupied which position? Go figure. Our politicians, Ghana, have hijacked our democracy, and like docile sheep, we keep mute as they lead us to the slaughter. We have become so blind owing to selfish personal interest, stupid ethnocentrism, and a refusal to use our brains in some respects. And the politicians have capitalized on that. You know me, I'm blunt. I don't care two hoots what anyone thinks. But let me tell you a secret. If we do not wake up, someday people from China, the United States, the UK and other places will come and tell us, hey, you know what? This land is no longer yours. This house is our property. This national monument is actually ours. Like the Chinese are already doing with the Entebbe airport in Uganda, where they are going to milk that facility for all it's worth for some 20 years. How harsh can you be? But can you blame them when the Ugandan political leaders let their economy slide and accepted such a deal? If we don't watch it, strangers will someday come to us and say, these gold mines and lithium, we've got lithium now, these oil fields, these swathes of land with timber, these water bodies, etc., are all ours. And we'd not be able to say or do anything about it because these misleaders we keep electing and supporting would have, like Esau in the Bible, sold our birthright for a pot of bean stew. That is just how callous they are and just how foolish we are for enabling them, sponsoring them, and giving them the leeway to destroy us. Yes, destroy us. My thinking is simple. Once we keep operating this servant-master system, where the masses rather are the servants, we shall never beat corruption and never develop, because the system we operate is too heavily skewed towards the interests of certain classes of people. Our leaders, and once they are reaping the harvest they haven't sown, do you honestly think they will willingly give that up? Never. They will tell us what we want to hear, but in their minds it is yankonkwan. Consider our Article 71 office holders, for example. Do you think if they didn't have any or most of the perks they enjoy, thanks to our taxes, they would be sitting tight like they are now? The president says we have slashed executive salaries by 30%. What does that mean to someone earning 20,000, 30,000, and in some cases over 60,000 Ghana cedis? Yet if you, as a public servant, they take even 20 cedis off your salary, it could be a life and death situation. What does it mean to us when fuel allocations are slashed by some government officials? By what? 50%. When that 50% is merely a pittance to them because it is insignificant compared to the perks they get. Yet for you, that could be your entire month's salary or maybe more. If we keep things this way, we shall complain from the cradle to the grave. Nothing, I repeat, nothing will change in Ghana. If the Article 71 officers were earning salaries like we are, and feeling the pinch of rent like we do, and experiencing the bite of fuel prices and skyrocketing food costs like we are, they would have fixed this broken system a long time ago. Trust me. But once they are comfortable, this is what we shall get. Lots of empty talk and loads of white elephant projects. In a country whose central bank foreign reserves have dwindled steadily in just a few months, from $9 billion to $3 billion, especially when we're expending $600 million every month. It beats me how our politicians can live so ostentatiously and get away with it. You will see a British Prime Minister or a Dutch leader riding a bicycle to work. Sometimes. The Ghanaian politician who cannot even solve his country's no-bed syndrome or eradicate the sad phenomenon of having schools under trees and schools with dilapidated structures. The one who expects poor students to be fed on 97 pesos a day on the school feeding program, rides in luxurious V8 Land Cruisers and other posh vehicles. In the meantime, we have Kantanka. In Kayapampasikano or automotive industry no more. And you're bad. But we don't have that. I shared a thought recently about Uganda and its government-sponsored manufacture of buses for us. For us here, let's keep importing $180,000 vehicles till thy kingdom come. Why would we not be broke with this kind of attitude? The people we go to beg for money have modest leaders. Look at our leaders. We need veranda, and so also Benjamin Akakpo. I hope and pray that the $750 million loan that has now been approved for Ghana will be used for all the roads and other projects we claim they will be expended on. If not, we are watching keenly and we will expose any rot in there. The Ghanaian politician, Ghana 4, is unconscionably wicked. Isn't it so despicable and disgraceful? You're a Ghanaian politician, yet you live large like a sultan or sultana, while your people cannot even get what they will eat. People are cutting down meals for themselves and even their children just so they can survive. Yet you, the politician they elected to better their lives, are just interested in the next corrupt deal so you can get your kickback. You all ought to be ashamed of yourselves. But oh, wait, I forgot. Our Ghanaian politicians have no shame. They know not how to resign when they fail. And most definitely do not want to be accountable. But we shall force probity and accountability down their throats, whether they like it or not. They will learn. Our Ghanaian politicians appear to forget, when in power, that they too will die someday and will have to give account of their stewardship to our Father in heaven. But hey, some of us will not wait until then. We will force their hands now. Else, if we wait for God's justice, which is never late, by the way, and always right on target, these thieves would have destroyed our country completely. The time to act is now. I mean, why? The public purse has been ravaged time and again by politicians, and we have cover-up upon cover-up while Amagana bleeds to death. Until when shall we change this highly rigged system? Why should the monkey always work for some useless baboon to chop? The University of Ghana our nation's premier academic institution at the tertiary level, has seen its population explode over the last decade. But they are seriously struggling with the issue of accommodating students. But how much help do our governments give them? Faustina, a young pregnant woman at 31, left us all heartbroken when she died in a hospital in Fijai because her husband did not have 600 Ghana cedis to fuel an ambulance to convey her so she'd receive medical attention. She's gone, just like many hundreds and thousands of others who have endured this for the over 16 years it has been going on. I am not saying that. The head of the National Ambulance Service himself said it. We live in such lack in this country, yet our politicians, our leaders, even in opposition, all look rosy and well kept. No cheekbones, no showing cheekbones, no collarbones that are showing to see, no signs of hunger or lack. Yet look at the ordinary man on the street. We're simply not angry enough. Corruption has made its home in our country. It has set up its throne in Ghana. No wonder the latest report from the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, teaming up with the Ghana Statistical Service and the United Nations, the UNODC, is revealing so much. We're simply cowards. If Nkrumah had been a coward, we would never have gained our independence. Never. Maybe it's high time we started setting up anti-corruption clubs in our schools, institutions, and what have you, to get the citizenry more aware of the menace, the havoc corruption wreaks on our society, and how not to fall into the same trap. This could bring a groundswell of not just crusaders against corruption, but shape future leaders who will know and do better. Our politics has now devolved into a garage or car boot sale. Our democracy has been sold to the highest bidder. And this is what it really means. I'm going to be looking at some slides. Let's take a look at those slides, and then I'll continue with my thinking. Now, if you look at the number of political parties we have had in Ghana, you can see that there is gradually incremental value between 1957 and 2022. Let's move on to the next slide. But here is a quote from Alban Sumana Bagbin. Since the inception, in fact, this is from the CDD, since the inception of the Fourth Republic on January 7, 1993, the role of money in Ghanaian politics has grown exponentially. In 2018, the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the Ghana Center for Democratic Development reported an estimated 59% increment in the cost of running for office as a member of parliament from 2012 to 2016. Now, how much would it cost you for presidential elections to get elected? As of 2016, it stood at 575 million Ghana cedis. How about parliamentary elections? It would cost you some 4 million Ghana cedis as of 2016. 2 million to nurture your constituency and for the primaries, another 2 million to run your main elections. Now, we come to the quote from Alban Bagbin. When you go talk to your party members and any of them approach you, they will tell you that you cannot just come and talk to me like that and go away. When you visit the chiefs, the courtesy must be followed. Your pocket is empty. When you are going around and you are not, greasing palms, they will vote against you. When you do not organize events and let the drinks, food, and music flow, you are bound to lose. You don't have the money, and some people are sponsoring. You spend about 2 million Ghana cedis to be elected as a member of parliament. Who pays the piper calls the tune. Look at that. Sources of campaign financing. There's an interesting bit in there. When you look at grassroots contributions, 12.5%. Funds from parties, elected officials, and electoral candidates, 20%. Unauthorized use of state resources for partisan campaign activities, a whopping 10%. Support from other party sympathizers, they claim 52.5%. Corporations, 2.5%. Foreign funding, governments and institutions, and that also can be dangerous, 2.5%. Total, 100%. Next slide. If you look at the recipients and contributions and support to political parties, it is, at least as of 2016, national party representatives contributing 37.5%. That is what they get. Regional reps, 10%. Constituency, 27.5%. Presidential candidate, 12.5%. Other party members, 2.5%. And the rest in limbo, 10%. But when you look at the profiles of the kinds of people who frequently contribute to political parties and their electoral efforts, look at that. Current government official, 15% plus. former government official 17% plus, political party official 20% plus. Look at the parliamentarians and business people. Look at the others. Look at political parties in the diaspora. Our entire system is rigged. How can we even consolidate some of these figures? Next slide. I just want to do this comparative analysis as we end. Look at the United States in terms of GDP. Let's do a comparative analysis. $23 trillion. The UK, $3.19 trillion. Nigeria, $440.78 billion. South Africa, $419 billion. Kenya, $110 billion. Ghana, $77.59 billion. Look, let me tell you a bit about the American and Nigerian examples. One Western one, one African one. Between them, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are together suspected to have spent about $11 billion on campaigning in 2020. But that is on the back of record spending because of the high stakes involved in election 2020. In fact, in 2008, Obama spent $730 million on his campaign. A lot of that came from legal fundraising activity. But here's where it gets pretty interesting. To be president in Ghana, bearing in mind our GDP gap compared to the United States, GDP and everything else, as of 2016, 575 million Ghana cedis, the equivalent, using yesterday's dollar exchange rate, of $77.38 million. Stay with me. The startling truth is that this means while our GDP as a country is only about 1/300th that of the United States, our spending on elections for the presidency is a startling 1/10 of what averagely would be spent in the US. Imagine that. This means while the American economy is some 299 times bigger than ours in terms of GDP, we spend up to about 1/10 of what their leaders spend to get the nod into the White House. I mean, how? Where do our leaders get all that money from? Who sponsors them? We don't have officially approved fundraising standards here for elections, so how do they get all that money? Do you see why corruption in Ghana will not end if we maintain this highly rigged system? Nigerian law, until February this year, said the maximum amount to be spent by a presidential candidate should not exceed 1 billion naira, the equivalent of $2.4 million. Although it has now increased to about 5 billion naira, which is about $12 million. We don't even have laws. This reveals one thing. Because of the avenues available to steal from public coffers, these con artists will do everything possible to get into these offices, because whether they are handpicked, like our DCs, MCs, board chairs, CEOs, and the rest, or whether they are constituency, regional, or national party officers of the two major political parties, or MPs, or presidential candidates, they all know how this game is played. Once in office, they can, like Shylock in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice, get their pound of flesh, or to be more blunt, many kilograms of it. Our politics has, in fact, become so expensive that it will cost you an arm and a leg just simply to get defeated. To win the ultimate is another matter altogether. But I ask you, Ghana, is this what we want our politics and politicians to be like? Is this what we wanted when in that referendum in 1992 we opted for this fourth Republican Democratic adventure? We have 1,001 corruption-related cases to point to, yet no one is getting convicted, even when they are caught red-handed with their hands in the cookie jar, because our politics thrives on monetary influence. Almost all would-be contenders arm themselves by raping the public purse through corrupt deals, cutting corners at every end. From kickbacks on contracts, which mean those contracts are not going to be properly executed anyway, to contract inflation, to concessions for mining licenses, it is all in someone's personal interest. That also is why when you have an executive the size of an elephant, like we do, you will likely have corruption at a commensurable size. Finito. While I cannot say, while referring to ministers of state and maybe members of parliament and throw in some MMDC, CEOs, and even chairmen of boards here and there, that all of them are corrupt, because not all of them will be, and not all of them will line their pockets with state resources. We know most of them dabble in at least some form of corruption in myriad ways. Why? because of the orientation of our politics. Because our scheme of politics incentivizes same. That was clearly shown by the latest Shraj Ghana Statistical Service UNODC report. Did you note in there how corrupt our public officials are? But it doesn't end there. Because our politicians do it, those are the grassroots of their political parties have also taken up their sinister behavior. So party members feel it is their political birthright to stash, reroute, and cash in for premixed fuel, sell their votes to the highest bidder in elections, and so on. Fellow Ghanaians, slowly but very steadily, our elections have become auctions, and our democracy has transmogrified into a moneycracy. The mantra, no money, no vote. But come to think of it, why should one pay to serve people? What's the incentive? In our brand of politics, well, quite a lot actually. We know what they get. Most of our politicians come to steal and destroy, so they know what's in it for them. But to you, I ask, what is your vote worth? Can your conscience be bought? Mind you, if you sell your vote to a politician, a sale is a sale. If they pay you, no further, mind during their tenure. Consider yourself paid in full. Fair is fair. But if we truly want to hold our leaders, especially the political ones, to account, then we must learn to set aside our momentary gain for even greater benefits for boons. We cannot eat our cake and have it. So, as I end, I want to force home this message. Young people of Ghana, to you especially, I bid you to wake up. Arise. Arise and hold our leaders' feet to the fire of accountability. Else, you will have no future. Because guess what? Your future, your birthright, is being sold at Donkomi prices today. Right now. See you tibone na wankasa and ye wala. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I am very passionate about Ghana and Africa as a whole. These are my blunt thoughts for you this Friday morning, served hot, raw, undiluted. God bless Ghana.